You're listening to Building a Creative Life. I'm Pam Vale, an artist and writer. This podcast is about the small, often overlooked ways creativity shows up in real life, in what we notice and in what we choose to respond to. Here you'll find conversations and reflections shaped by curiosity, not instruction. No expectations, nothing to master. Just room to pay attention and trust where that leads. I've been thinking a lot lately about how we classify things, how we label them, and how those labels can either open doors or quietly shut them. When we lived in Arizona, I developed a regular, consistent yoga practice for the first time in my life. I had bouts of yoga before, a few weeks here, a few months there, but nothing that ever really stuck. In Arizona, everything lined up. A new studio opened right near us. I was grandfathered in at a very low monthly unlimited rate. The teachers and the classes really aligned with me, and I had a friend who went regularly, which made a huge difference. It was wonderful for my body. I felt strong and lean and flexible, and my chronic back problems went away. And mentally and spiritually, I loved how I felt. I know that yoga is good for me personally. Then we moved back to Rhode Island and it all fell apart. There was a cross-country move, a new grandbaby, family, being home again, wanting to explore, home construction, work, readjusting to a completely different pace of life. And on top of that, I couldn't find a studio that was close, within my budget, and offering classes at times that actually worked. I tried online classes, but I had a hard time motivating myself at home. It's been a struggle for about 2.5 years. More recently, I started to notice something interesting. My resistance to yoga, especially at home, wasn't really about yoga itself. It was about how I was framing it. I had mentally classified yoga as exercise. I have a lot of baggage around the idea of exercise. Why that is, that's a whole other conversation. But what I realized is that as soon as yoga lived in the exercise category in my mind, I felt pressure and resistance and avoidance. But when I reframed it as a mental or spiritual practice, not solely exercise, something shifted. It was like a switch flipped. Suddenly, I was excited to roll out my mat. That got me thinking about how we frame things and how small mental shifts can help us move through blocks, especially creatively. We actually have more power than we think to make something feel accessible or feel like a challenge. Also made me think about control and choice and how much room we really have to make space for the things we say we want. I have to consciously remind myself that I have choices. Sometimes that means thinking outside the box. Sometimes it means getting a little creative. So last night I walked around my house looking at all the different spaces we have. I looked in corners and spare rooms, little nooks and crannies. And I asked myself, how could I change the use of a space? How could I repurpose something? How could I create a multi-use area? And I realized something. I had been in a very fixed mindset. I was assuming one space had to meet all of my needs. But once I slowed down and actually explored my options, I saw that wasn't true at all. I could have one space for meditation and another area for yoga. There was nothing that said they had to be together. I was getting tripped up on a rule I had made for no real reason. And that led me to a bigger question. Where else in my life do I do that? Where do I make rules or restrictions that aren't necessary? Where do I limit myself or my possibilities? Where do I judge myself or others without any real basis or fact? Where do you underestimate yourself? Where do you hold back or shrink? Where do you eliminate options for no good reason? There are two main lessons I'm taking away from this. The first is that there isn't just one way to do something. Sometimes activities or ideas need to be broken up. Sometimes flexibility is the answer. Maybe I need more time to plan or dream. Maybe I need support or inspiration from someone else or another source. There could be a better way or combination that I haven't thought of yet. And the second lesson is that I do have control over my time, my activities, and my space. Everything is a choice. If I'm hesitating or feeling stuck, there's probably a deeper reason that needs attention. We make time for the things we truly want to prioritize. And when we're avoiding something, there's usually a message there. Sometimes that message is obvious, and sometimes it's subtle. But it helps tremendously to listen for it. For me and yoga, I identified two possible spaces that could work. I'm going to try them both and see what feels good. No pressure, just attention. And for now, that feels like enough. Thank you for being here. I hope something from today's conversation stays with you in a quiet way. If this episode felt meaningful, you're welcome to follow the podcast or pass it along to someone who might enjoy it. Until next time.